Newcastle, I want you guys to pay attention to this storm because if it continues on like it did from Ohio, this is going to put you guys sort of in line to see this one next. So this is right now just over the state line and moving quite quickly. At a clip of about 40 miles per hour to the southeast. So this warning is in effect until 7:30, and with this moving at about, actually now it's moving about 15 miles per hour, so that's slowed down, which is usually a sign that these ones are holding on to their intensity. So let's switch back to the radar, and we are going to put on this a track so you can see the cities and counties in line. So what you would first look for is that notch. This is typically where you would find what we would call the weak echo region. This is where you would likely see the storm wrapping around, and that would be the center of circulation that could lead to the tornado at the surface. And with it moving at about 15 miles per hour, this is not a fast-moving storm at all. So at 15 miles per hour, this one would essentially be moving towards Newcastle here within the next, or by about 7:40. So now it's going to would take a continuation of the warning to make it into Newcastle, but like I said, you're next in line. Harbor, you could see this one by 7:20, so this is not going to take much more time to get towards you. But this one has had a history of this rotation as it was coming out of Ohio, and some of that rotation was on the tighter side, and you see that here by the darker colors getting picked up by the rotation path. This is rotation over time. Current rotation would indicate that there is still that rotation showing up essentially right on Route 422 as you're approaching 376 there in Lawrence County, and that's going to continue on towards Newcastle. So this, coming out of Ohio, is the area of main concern, essentially Route 422. It's not incredibly populated out this way, but a lot of people do take this as a shortcut if they work back and forth in Ohio, in the Youngstown area. Of course, if you're going to Ohio and you want to avoid the tolls and you live in Newcastle, you have some family members that travel this roadway as well. So just if you know anyone doing that, make sure you alert them that there is a likely tornado on the ground in the area, and that is one that needs to be watched as you look up there into Lawrence County. And for those of you just joining us, there is a tornado warning until 7:30 for Lawrence County because of rotation showing up on the radar, and there has been a signature on many different radar products that we use that would indicate that there's some debris getting pulled up into the air, and the radar's picking on that, meaning tornadoes come in contact with the surface, and this one is confirmed. So you get that purple colored warning on the map instead of the typical red colored. So this is sort of the next level up, or worse, when it comes to severe storms, because there has been an observation that there is likely a tornado on the ground. And one of the other things we like to do is take these storms and cut them. And one of the things you look for is what we would call a weak echo region. And usually that's the indication that you have a column of rotating air, and you're sort of seeing that here, this rotation and winds getting pulled into this storm. That would be where you have your updraft. That would be likely where the tornado is making contact with the surface. Now, in addition to that, we've been watching on and looking for what we would call the couplet on the radar, which is where you would see that that rotation on the radar where the winds are blowing towards and away. And this is sort of looking a little more broad. We have our winds towards the radar still showing up and our winds away, and they're close to each other, but that's not a real tight couplet, which is a good sign, and usually a sign that we're seeing some weakening. But as I mentioned, there's still another 18 and a half minutes left on this warning, and this storm has had a history back in Ohio of strengthening and weakening as it's made its path into Lawrence County. But in addition to that, we've seen it sort of weaken a little bit, but there's the path that it's taken. It's essentially come out of the McDonald area of Ohio, Churchill, Hubbard. It would be probably a more notable exit on I-80 out that way that you would see. So the Hubbard area is where this is coming out of, and this is sort of eyeing Newcastle, and the rotation path and the rotation trend continues that here into the Newcastle area. So we're going to have to watch this one very closely because it has had a history of damage, and it has certainly shown all the signs that you would look for on the radar. It's had the hook echo that we talk about. You see that here. That is certainly still occurring on the back edge of this storm, where you would expect to see that hook echo or the tornado in a storm like this. It has had the couplet on the velocities, where you have those winds towards and away towards the radar and away from the radar. That has broadened out, which is a good sign. But it's also had on the debris tracker, what we call the correlation coefficient, some debris getting picked up in there. I'm going to wind this back a couple scans just so you can kind of see how this worked out. So initially, we had this popping off out towards Coatesville, Ohio, and then you can see that that debris has moved right now towards Route 422, just west of Neshannock. And since this one has had a history, I wouldn't be surprised if the National Weather Service extended this warning and extended the polygon towards Neshannock and towards Newcastle, as you are the next in line, and it's still showing some of those signs that this is going to try to maintain itself, or at least it's had a history of weakening and then strengthening, and it doesn't weaken by much. This is still a pretty significant storm moving into this area as well. So we have this going on. We also have some considerable flash flooding back in Ohio. Some of that is still trying to show up in areas south of I-68 as well. And then again, we have another severe thunderstorm warning to the east. And this is a storm that we previously talked about up this way, coming out of Venango County into Forest County. This one has a severe thunderstorm with tornado possible. So this one, since it's had that history of rotation and had a history of a tornado warning because of some rotation showing up on radar that's in Venango County, the National Weather Service has decided to keep this severe thunderstorm going, but that rotation is weakened enough where they decided to drop off the tornado warning, and this is now just a severe thunderstorm with tornado possible. But you can see here how broken up that rotation path is compared to the storm that we're watching coming out of Ohio, where it is very, very congealed and held together. And that's a sign that this storm is pretty much maintaining its strength and needs to be watched. So this is the main concern that we have right now as this one inches closer and closer to Newcastle and towards areas like Neshannock. So certainly a well-defined hook here, and I'm waiting to see if the National Weather Service is going to do a continuation of this warning. I'm going to switch over. I'm looking in the chat with them that we have, like sort of a direct line of communication to the National Weather Service, where they tell us what they're seeing, and if we see anything, we can chat with them about that. But this tornado warning is still on the board for another 15 minutes, and it's moving quite slowly at about 15 miles per hour. And a lot of the storms like to rip when it comes to this. So at about 15 miles per hour, we'll come over here and then drop it down. That would put this towards Newcastle by 7:38. So that's still sort of maintaining the speed we were telling you about when we started tracking this storm. This would be towards Altman by 7:55 and towards Kennedy Mill after 8 o'clock. So this is a slow-moving tornado warning, and certainly one that's been showing that path of rotation right into this area. And the current rotation takes it to the edge of this polygon, although that's weakened a little bit, and that's in line with what we've been seeing on the velocities, which is our way of seeing that instant motion or the current motion within these storms. So winds towards the radar, winds away, but this is some broad rotation. Typically, you'd like to see that a little tighter to be more concerned, but a weakening is always a good thing in this. We're getting later in the day, the sun's getting lower in the sky, but this area did have some of that clearing take place. And with that clearing taking place, that allowed some energy to be re-injected into the atmosphere up north of town. So I'm going to turn off all these warnings because that sort of gets cluttered in a situation like this, and give you the quick view of what's going on around the entire area. You'll notice that Pittsburgh, in the middle of your screen here, we're fairly quiet. I think that tornado warning has been extended, but Pittsburgh's in the middle. All of our activity is up to the north and well to the south, and then we go up here and this is where we find our activity as the National Weather Service has extended that warning. So it's no longer an observed tornado warning. It is now radar indicated, because of its history and because of the latest radar scans haven't been showing that indication that it's in contact with the ground. But now it does include Neshannock, and now it does include the city of Newcastle. This storm has had a history, so you're going to want to wait this one out in the lowest level of your home. So what you do is you go to your basement or your first floor and find an interior room with as many walls between you and the outdoors as possible. You want to put as many things between you and the storm as possible and wait this one out. This one has had a history. It's made contact with the ground and pulled up debris that was shown on the radar. So for a while, this was an observed tornado warning, and now it is a radar indicated tornado warning, meaning there's still all the signs on the radar, but just not the signs that it's in contact with the ground. And it's essentially been rolling in on Route 422 and is moving in line towards Newcastle. And the area, just to put this into perspective for you in Newcastle watching this, the area that we're watching is the back edge of this storm in here. This is where we would see the rotation. So this is quickly going to cause a deteriorating situation for you in Newcastle. So the center of Lawrence County here, also Neshannock, also Hickory. If you're along Route 422 from the Ohio border, essentially all the way towards Shenango, you're going to want to wait this one out in the lowest level of your home. South of Newcastle, and I know in Shenango, things are looking fine right now. Things are looking quiet. That said, this is going to deteriorate as this storm continues its progression towards you. We're going to see here. Okay, so what we're going to do now, at 7:30. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, just some notes from the producers. So what we have here is some broad rotation. This is just west of Neshannock. This broad rotation is that indication that we still have something spinning in the atmosphere, but it's not a tight rotation that would be more indicative of something on the ground. So this is why we changed the tornado warning, or the National Weather Service changed it from an observed tornado warning to a radar indicated. So there's still that rotational aspect to this. The path of rotation has been pretty consistent as it's moved from just north of Youngstown right towards Newcastle. This has been a line of very consistent rotation. There's been some pretty good energy associated with this as well as it's made that path, because the sunshine broke out for a bit. While those storms were happening to the south, that sunshine put some heat into the ground, which gives these storms as they come in a lot more energy to work with. And that's enough to punch high enough into the atmosphere to pull off these rotating storms. So that's why we have this tornado warning that's in effect until, well, the first one until 7:30, but the secondary one is going to be in effect until 7:45. And this does include Newcastle and takes you over I-79. So the worst of this one right now is on I-79 in, I clicked off that. Let me go back. Is on I-79 as you go into Lawrence County. So that's where the rotation would be crossing over right now. Traffic is probably slowed down there. Something that if you have loved ones on their way home for dinner or something like that, you're going to want to let them know that if they are traveling I-79 through Lawrence County right now, especially Newcastle and northward, they're going to want to wait this one out and try to find a different way, or just give it about 15-20 minutes and then continue on their journey, because the area rotation that we're seeing right now is right here. That would be it, and it's over I-79 just west of Neshannock, just northwest of Newcastle, where I-79 and 422 come together. A pretty busy intersection as you, I'm sorry, we're 376. My bad, 376 and 422 come together up there in Lawrence County. And that's going to continue on towards Neshannock and likely the northern part of Newcastle. That's sort of the path that this rotation has been wanting to take. So this is where we would expect it to go on a more focused level rather than just the polygon that's issued by the National Weather Service. So this is going to continue that progression to the southeast at about 15 miles per hour. At about 7:40 at a speed like that, it would be moving to Newcastle. We'll even say 7:30 to play it a little safer, but you should already be making your preparations to get into the lowest levels of your home there in Newcastle. You'll want to wait this one out until that rotational part passes over, which is going to take a little bit of time before that happens. I'm going to check in again with the National Weather Service to see if they're indicating anything more about this warning. Certainly, it does look nasty towards 376 and 422, where that's coming together. In the distance, there is a lowering. I don't know if the producers in the booth would be able to look up a camera out that way. There's some traffic cameras up there. I'm not sure if they're able to pull that up, but if they were able to, that would be great. Just let me know when you get that. But certainly, you can see a storm in the distance that is making its way towards 422 and 376, where that is coming together just around the Newcastle area. The producer says she is efforting the cameras. That's what's awesome about Ashley, the producer here that typically takes care of us in the early evenings. Now, you go to Newcastle, you should be in the lowest level of your home. We're still watching for that rotation on this storm. This is now towards areas like Oakwood and continuing to move on towards Newcastle. This is continuing to brush by Neshannock and Newcastle and continue on towards Hickory. So certainly some broad rotation here on the map. Not tight, but certainly something that we should take very seriously, considering the history of this storm and how it's held together and how it's moved its way from Youngstown as a tornado to right now as a radar indicated tornado into the Newcastle area. Oakwood, this is moving towards you. Newcastle, you are next in line for this one. Again, wait this one out in the lowest level of your home, because we're still seeing that hook on the radar. That hook is one of the indications that you're getting a wrapping occurring in the atmosphere. That's a sign that some winds are being pulled into this storm, and you're seeing that rotation. The other thing you look at is the velocities. These have been very helpful, because what it does is the radar assigns all the raindrops a target, and then it can sense their motion in there, and we're still seeing that rotation away from the radar next to areas towards the radar, which is a sign of circulation. Our correlation coefficient, what we call the debris tracker, this looks at all the different things in the atmosphere that the radar is picking up on, and it is still picking up on some varying sized targets here. I don't know if that's some leftover from what came up the line, but a varying sized target would be a way where the radar is saying, hey, this is picking up on some debris, whether it's leaves or shingles or anything like that up there. Now I want to take a look at this camera. Oh, now they're pointing down. This is 376. You can see exit 12. Near Newcastle, some big time winds hitting this bridge here, some heavy rain coming into play as well as we're locked into the PennDOT traffic camera here. Cars are still moving through, but this is an area that we're gonna watch real closely because that's an area where we're still seeing that hook echo, even though that hook echo is looking like it wants to let up a little bit. But certainly something that is piquing our interest. Of course, big-time gusts, as we showed you on that camera out that way as well. There is going to be another tornado warning coming out shortly, and this one is going to be in Clarion County. So Newcastle being the lowest level of your home, we're going to go look at another storm that we have up towards the north. This storm has come out of Venango County, where it briefly had a tornado warning, and the National Weather Service says they're going to be pulling another tornado warning up this way. Their text says going to tornado in northeast Clarion County. So we will see this warning popping up here very soon. I'm going to look at a couple of the different velocity products that we have here. This storm has had a history of rotation as well, and that track well, it's been a little less consistently held together here than the one that we've had pushing into the Newcastle area. This storm has had that history of rotation as it's moved from the Meadville area across northern Venango County, and now it's pushing into Farmington of Clarion County. So there's that tornado warning we told you was going to be popping up. It has now popped up, and this one is a tornado warning, and I'm going to pop this up so you can see all the towns on it for Farmington. As you work back towards Heath, Barnett, towards Warsaw. So this is across northern Clarion County into Jefferson County, and this tornado warning itself is going to be on the board until we get to 8 o'clock. So this one until 8 o'clock, a radar indicated tornado warning up this way. This storm has had that history of rotation as it's come out. It's not the most impressive looking storm on the radar coming out of Pittsburgh, but the National Weather Service has access to a private radar up in Venango County that gets better looks at some of these northern storms. So they're able to see that more tightly wrapped storm and make the determination to trigger these tornado warnings. So Clarion, Forest, and Jefferson counties now have this tornado warning until 8 p.m. This is to complement the tornado warning that we have in Lawrence County that is in effect until 8:45. And this one has had a long history of rotation as it's come out of the Youngstown area, and this path has held together a lot better. And you can see it even had some of that tightening occur a little while ago as you go around the Oakwood area and along 422 as you're traveling into Newcastle away from Route 376. So you have that path that's taken that in there. So Newcastle, again, this is a tornado warning for you. It's pretty much into the city now. You're getting the big winds. You're getting that wraparound moisture here along the backside of this, where you would see the winds wrapping around where a tornado would be if a tornado were to be in contact with the surface. So Newcastle, South Newcastle, you should be in the lowest level of your homes as this storm is moving towards you. This storm is going to make its continuation to the southeast towards Shenango. This is going to clip you towards the north and continue, it looks, along Route 422 as you work throughout the rest of Lawrence County, possibly towards northern Butler County there. So our two tornado warnings on the board, one for another 15 minutes, and then this other one that is up in Clarion County and moving into Jefferson County. Say that again, Ashley? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break here, and we are going to switch to both KDKA and KDKA Plus for the news there. So stay with us here briefly as our control room makes that switch.
Now, live on KDKA-TV and streaming on CBS News Pittsburgh, this is the KDKA-TV News at 7:30.
I'm KDKA meteorologist Ray Petelin. We have two tornado warnings on the board right now. One that's in effect until 8 o'clock for northern Clarion, Jefferson, and Forest counties, and one on the board in Lawrence County that is in effect until 7:45. So let's take this one step by step. There has been a tornado warning in in Lawrence County for quite some time now. If we could just take this full so people at home could get a better radar viewing experience. You see here around Newcastle, this small polygon is where there has been a tornado warning and a hook echo and signs of rotation over quite some time. And this has come out of the Youngstown area and is right now battering Newcastle, moving towards Shenango, essentially along Route 422 as it makes its progression towards I-79. So it's just to the east of 376 up there in Lawrence County. So 376 is here. This is Route 422 as it takes you to I-79, and the area rotation is coming through Newcastle right now on towards Venango and down towards Route 422. This storm has been a pretty slow mover. at times been only moving at about 15 miles per hour. We're going to put the track on here a little faster than that because it seems to be moving a little faster than that 15 miles per hour would suggest. So this is going to be moving towards Altman here in the next 10 minutes, towards Princeton in the next 20 minutes, and then towards Portersville. The storm itself, hopefully no longer containing a tornado, but towards Portersville a little after 8 o'clock this evening. If you're in northern Lawrence County, essentially around Newcastle to Altman, all the way to McConnell's Mill. If you're near McConnell's Mill State Park, wait this one out in the lowest level of your home. This one has had a history of rotation as it's come out of the Youngstown area. The newer tornado warning was just issued, and this storm has had a bit of a past. This storm, I'm going to turn off these warnings. This storm has a tornado warning, the red box, until we get to 8 o'clock. And this one had a tornado warning for a while up in Venango County as it moved out of Crawford County, out of the Meadville area, just north of Oil City. It lost a little bit of its rotation, but got it back. And the National Weather Service saw some rotation on a private radar that's up in Venango County that has a closer view of this storm that was showing that tight rotation. It's a little harder to see here, but we can kind of pick out some of the areas where we would see that concern trying to happen, and that would be right over Farmington right now. Not the best looking couplet, but this is shooting really high up in the storm because the radar beam is at an angle, so we're shooting really high up towards Farmington here, but this would be where we have our area of rotation, and this is going to be moving on towards Barnett and towards just south of 66 towards 899. So that's sort of the motion of this one. So Farmington up to Route 66. As you go to Barnett is the area in the immediate path of this rotation on this storm that has triggered a tornado warning until 8 o'clock for northern Clarion County. And once it does get over the county line here, that'll be out of our traditional viewing area. Sort of our secondary viewing area, but just to let you know, it's still in northern Clarion County. That is the area of concern, and that tornado warning runs until we get to 8 o'clock. So there's a good 27 minutes left on that one. We still have flash flood warnings for areas to the south. An area that got hit particularly hard was Rich Hill up to West Findlay, almost up to East Findlay, Gray, as you go on that line with Greene and Washington counties where it meets up with the West Virginia line there. This area has seen some incredible rainfall amounts. Rain estimates for the day have in many cases been over 1.5 to 2 inches. Like we're seeing 1.6 inches near Rich Hill. You've been seeing back in West Virginia similar amounts. West Findlay has probably had close to an inch, 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches of rainfall there. So some big time rainfall amounts, and that has led to some quick rises in the water. Find a different way around. Turn around, find a different way through, because 1 to 2 inches of rainfall on some almost saturated ground as it was, certainly a flooding issue, especially after the heavy rain we had just the other day. And you can see how that heavy precipitation has largely been down to the south. We still have those storms down to the south. Those are still trying to work out. Ohio has had some rotation. There's a tornado warning out that way, but it's our area here where we have been watching these storms rotate up around the Newcastle area. That rotation has shown up and is still showing up as it's approaching the end of that polygon on Route 422. So I'm interested to see here if the National Weather Service is going to continue this tornado warning farther to the east, and it looks like this is going to be, nope, that's in Ohio. That's the one in Ohio right now. So we see a weak rotation in Mercer County storm. So up north, there's some rotation with this one. They are going to warn downstream of the Newcastle storm as a tornado warning, as there's still some rotation and some convergence or winds coming together here, and that's what you see getting picked up by our rotation tracker on our radar near the Shenango area. Still, if you're in Newcastle, you're still going to want to wait this one out a little bit more. You're getting towards the back end of this, and it's going to start to lighten up. I would say wait another 5 minutes, and then you can we can sound the all clear for you. Shenango, completely different story. You are now under the gun of this tornado warning and the primary part of it that's triggered this warning. So Shenango, you should be in the lowest level of your home. This is going to ride along Route 65 and Route 422 as it continues its way towards eastern parts of Lawrence County. This is moving slowly. This is going to cross over now into Butler County. As we told you, it would be moving out towards Prospect and Portersville. This one is going to cross over I-79. So this warning also goes until 8 p.m. So we have 2 tornado warnings on the board right now. Both are radar indicated, but both of these storms have had that history of rotation in the path, especially this one you see here on your screen right now that takes us from just outside of Newcastle, which is in the clear. So from Venango in Lawrence County, north of Elwood City, to Portersville, to Prospect, down as you get towards just north of Zelienople. So a well-traveled part of our area as Route 422 comes in there. A lot of traffic east and west out of Youngstown and back into Pittsburgh here to areas to the south. But just keep in mind, this is a pretty busy area, and this is where we're also seeing that rotation here early this evening. And this tornado warning is going to take us, again, until 8 p.m. There's also some hail and some damaging straight line winds are also a problem with these storms as well. I'm going to go back to our storm here that we have in Clarion County. This one is crossing now more so into the way of Jefferson County up to the north. So north of I-80, north of Brookville, but Brookville could get brushed by this one, and it's making a beeline towards Warsaw. We definitely see a bit of a bow here, which would at the very least tell us that some big winds are pushing out of this storm. So we're at least seeing the wind aspect of this, but when it comes to the rotational aspect of this, we're shooting pretty high with the radar out of Moon Township. So the radar velocities don't pop as well as they typically would when it would come to a closer storm to the radar. But we're certainly still seeing that rotational aspect from Farmington to Barnett. So that's on that Clarion Jefferson County line as you get up there in the northern parts of the county north of I-80. So that is tornado warning number 1. And then again, that one lasts until 8 p.m. And we hope you'll join us at 8 p.m. For our newscast when hopefully I can say all these storms are clear. Now, just zoomed out here, I can see something on that storm towards Newcastle, and that couplet looks a little tighter. You get that bright setup where you see the winds towards and away from the radar. So we're still seeing that rotation on this storm here outside of Newcastle. So Newcastle, the city proper, you're fine right now. Venango, it's going to start getting better for you, but this is going to continue down the line and continue on eventually towards Portersville, which is up around Moraine State Park, towards McConnell's Mill State Park, and towards I-79 and Route 19 there. So if you're familiar with that part of Lawrence County where it butts up with Butler County, a lot of people go out to dinner. There's some restaurants and bars on Route 422. This is traveling that way towards that truck stop that's up there on Route 422, and that's going to try to push down towards the Portersville area and Moraine State Park, Lake Arthur area as well. So we have that tornado warning that's on the board until 8 o'clock as well, if you are in the path of that one. So if you're from Venango to Portersville, or anywhere in between on Route 422, wait this one out in the lowest level of your home. And then we have our flooding problems down to the south. That has been an issue with the exceptional rain that we've seen this evening in extreme southwestern Washington County and extreme northeastern Greene County. We also have some flood warning in southern Monongalia County south of Morgantown. But the most pressing issue that we see are these damaging storms that could be producing tornadoes in Lawrence County, and one that's moving out of Clarion County right now into Jefferson County, both with tornado warnings for the next 20 minutes that take us until 8 p.m. up to the north. So several different things going on. In Pittsburgh itself, we're quiet. The radar beam's spinning. Downtown, we're looking pretty quiet. We've had some clouds. Those clouds have tried to break up a little bit at times, but in downtown Pittsburgh, you're seeing some of that blue sky trying to show up here. It's a little late in the day for this to cause a lot of recovery for these storms or to give these storms a lot of extra energy. Certainly something I'm going to watch as these storms continue to progress through with that cold front that's going to bring us some chilly weather in the coming days. But these storms, certainly nothing to mess with. We've had a history of a few tornado warnings, some earlier this evening. Especially down to the south, and now we're seeing these ones up around the Newcastle area, although the ingredients of this are well removed from Newcastle. So that warning that is set to expire at 7:45, that can be gone. But we still have this hook echo. This hook echo is still a sign that there's winds getting pulled into this storm, and that this storm is trying to pull in air, but we're starting to see some outflow trying to show up here, which would be a good sign, which would help weaken these storms. So the hook isn't hooking as much as you would like to see it if you wanted a tornado, which we don't, because you never want to see those, especially moving through busier type areas, frequented areas like Portersville. But what we do have here is still a tornado warning that's going to take us until 8 o'clock as it stands right now. So that warning goes until 8 o'clock for this one. And this storm that we've been watching up here in Clarion County is, for the most part, at least the aspects of it that would be bringing that rotation, that is crossed over into Jefferson County and extreme southern Forest County. Still some weak rotation showing up here. Some of that is showing up, but certainly enough to cause alarm with the National Weather Service and why they still have this tornado warning. So let's go back to our storm in Lawrence County that's moving towards Butler County along Route 422. We're still seeing that rotation there. I'm going to look at the rotation track. This is the path of rotation over time, and this one has had that long history. And earlier this evening, we had some long history storms back in eastern Ohio as well. This one is going to continue its push towards Portersville, sort of almost in that perfect line if you connect all the dots over time. And the latest rotation spot is right there. That would be where the latest rotation was shown up, and it's still on this scale coming in not as the lowest, so there's still that bit of rotation, and usually for storms in our area, this is what we get to show this on the rotational track. So this one is on its way towards Portersville. This storm has had a slow forward motion. With a slow forward motion, that's going to put this towards, let's see if we can stretch this out a little more. Towards Portersville at about 8:05. So this is going to be getting there. Prospect is going to be next in line from that one. I don't think it's going to quite take till 8:30 to get there, but certainly these storms have had that rotation. We still have that hook on the back side here, so that weak echo region, that little notch that you see here on the radar, that's where you have your hook. That's where some winds are trying to get pulled into this storm. That's where you would see your tornado. And this warning is going to take us until 8 o'clock as it stands right now, as the National Weather Service is still saying that the rotation is east of Weigeltown in heading towards Portersville. And we haven't had any reports of damage yet in Lawrence County. There's been some damage reports back in Ohio, but the damage reports are usually on delay because you need the storms to pass, and then people need to feel safe enough to go out and assess the damage. And they assess their damage and then report it to either emergency management services or to the National Weather Service, where those reports get populated into our maps. So it's going to take some time before we get some reports coming in here. I just want the producers to know that this one is moving towards I-79. If there is a Route 422 camera up there or a Portersville exit camera, I think more 422 would be more likely. We might want to start looking for that one, as that is the next stop on this one, as this one's going to cross over Route 19 in Portersville and I-79, but we might get a good look at what it's doing ahead of time as it's making its way towards Route 422. And I appreciate Ashley. Okay, the no cameras in Portersville. The next one north would be Route 422 there. That's a decent-sized intersection, and hopefully they have a camera there because there's a truck stop right there. And this rotation would be just south. That truck stop would be probably located right here-ish. And there's a stoplight here. So this is going to be moving just south of that. So this is going to be moving out towards Lake Arthur, passing over areas near Moraine State Park. Certainly still a little bit of a hook on there. That would indicate some rotation. The debris tracker not showing so much. It shows the hook, but it's not picking up on debris here. So we're seeing still uniformity among things, which would tell us that it's picking up mostly on raindrops or hail, which would all essentially be the same size if they're next to each other. So this is continuing that motion. We still have our tornado warning that's on the board until 8 o'clock here for Butler. Okay, the 422 camera is down, so we're going to fly blind on this with only radar data here because the National Weather, or the PennDOT camera there at Route 422 and I-79 is down. But we want you to take this seriously. If you're in Portersville, you should be in the lowest level of your home, as well as Prospect, north of Zelienople. You'll also want to be in the lowest level of your home as this storm makes its progression out that way. Our other storm that's been on the board is this tornado warning that we've had coming out of Clarion County. Now, it's northern Jefferson County. This one's moving towards Warsaw. Likely, it's going to clip just north of Brookville, but Brookville, I'd wait this one out on the inside as well, because the line of storms that this is embedded in is pushing out some damaging winds that could get in excess of 60 miles per hour, and you'll definitely want to be away from windows and doors and exterior walls while that's happening. You'll want to find an interior room in the lowest level of your home and wait this one out. But this storm kind of far away from our radar site, and even still we've been watching and looking for that rotation. That has been sort of breaking up, and you can see over time this one has had that weakening. Again, we don't have the greatest radar data there because the radar shooting so high up there in Jefferson County. So that rotation certainly looks like it's broken up a bit, but Brookville, lowest level of your home for that one. This rotation has held together much better. And you can see here over time, I'll point these out. You get these little dark circles that show up here. That's an indication of where these storms are tightening up, and that rotation is picking up in intensity. So this has had that history of strengthening and then weakening and then strengthening again. And it's been traveling right on Route 422 out of Youngstown through Newcastle, and is now just starting to dip a little south of that Route 422 roadway as it tries to push towards the Portersville exit on I-79 towards Route 19. Not too busy up here. You have a church. You have the snowman ice cream spot up there as you're moving from Portersville to Prospect. This is essentially going to be moving in that same direction on that south side of Lake Arthur there that you see on the right side of your screen towards Portersville. So if you're anywhere in that area, you're going to want to wait this one out in the lowest level of your home. I know this polygon takes us a little farther south than that, but it looks like that main thread is going to follow along that same line that we've been watching, and that's going to push this on towards Connequenessing as it clips the Prospect area after it pushes through Portersville. The National Weather Service chat, the direct line of communication that meteorologists have with the National Weather Service, I've been watching here to see if they're going to tip their hand as to if they're going to keep these warnings going, if they're going to drop them. But again, until 8 o'clock, they're keeping the one going up in Forest County and into Jefferson County. That one goes until 8 o'clock. And of course, this one here has had that history of rotation as it's moved out of the Newcastle area to Portersville and now on towards Connequenessing. And there you go. There's the latest rotation track coming in. And that's still telling us that there's that aspect of rotation here on this storm that we need to pay attention to. Now, it's not super tight. you'd want to see something a little brighter here in the middle, the sort of the donut hole I just drew on there. You'd want something brighter to say, hey, this is a ripping storm. This is still one to take seriously, though, because it's had that history of dropping that rotation. And when it was moving out of Ohio into Lawrence County, it was making contact with the ground. So this one did have some ingredients to work with. It sort of had that jump start as it's moved out this way, where the ingredients might not be as abundant, but it's already got that initial motion going, and it has some ingredients to work with. So this one can strengthen at any point as it moves on its way towards Portersville. So obviously in Portersville, we want you and your family to be safe everywhere. We want you and your family to be safe. So wait this one out in the lowest level of your home. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning that was added to the board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out here a little bit and see what the National Weather Service has given to us. That is up in Mercer County. So we have additional storms here with that line coming out of the north. And this one is a severe thunderstorm warning until 8:30. I just want to look at the velocities in this one because we've had that history. I'm not seeing anything really popping off on this one that looks like a rotation concern for this storm. That activity has been down to the south here and has continued to be down to the south here as this storm is now making its approach towards that Butler County line. So this one is pushing into Portersville right now. Portersville, you should already be in the lowest level of your home, with as many walls between you and the storm as possible. You never want to wait these out upstairs. Always go below ground if you can. If you don't have a basement, first floor in an interior room with as many walls between you and the outside as you can muster, like an interior bathroom or an interior closet. That would be the safest place to wait this one out. Prospect, this is moving towards you. So this is going to continue that motion through Butler County and towards Route 528 there as you get to Prospect. So this is just going to ride south of Route 422 and move towards the Prospect area. And this one's moving at about 25 miles per hour or so right now. So it's got a little bit more forward speed on it as it moves towards Route 422, but this is certainly a storm that has had a history of a tornado on the ground, and for a while it was warned as a observed tornado warning, meaning that debris was observed from this and that it did make contact with the ground. And right now this is going to be making contact, this storm, at least the part of it that's concerning, with I-79. So this one is just south of Portersville, crossing over Route 19. It's not a far path from Route 19 to I-79 out this way. And this one is now picking up a little forward speed right now, estimation at about 30 miles per hour. So with that, let's pop on some new tracks here as this moves south of Route 422. So you can see here, these are the cities in line for this one. Homemaker in the next 20 minutes or so, by about 5:20 towards Meharg. Jefferson and Buffalo by about 8:30, 8:35-ish for both those, and then Harrison up there by the time we're getting to quarter till the hour. So certainly still we're picking up on the rotation contained in this storm as it's now crossing over Route 19 towards I-79 in northern Butler County. This is out towards Prospect and Portersville. So this is passing through Portersville right now. Portersville, you're sort of in the thick of it. It's going to get better here in the next 10 minutes. But right now, you're in the thick of it. This is going to move on towards Prospect in Route 528, where it meets up with Route 422, and then continue on towards Homemaker. But the tornado warning ends at Prospect. The way things are going now is this warning is on the board for another 5 minutes till 8 p.m. And hopefully when we start KDKA News at 8 o'clock here on KDKA and KDKA Plus, we can see this expire. So the tornado warning is going to expire for the Jefferson County one. That was the one up moving from Clarion into Jefferson County. That one is going to expire according to the National Weather Service. They are going to continue, I think, with the severe thunderstorm warning associated with that one. They have not said if they are going to keep this warning going, but I would not be surprised if they did keep it on the board or change it to a severe thunderstorm with tornado possible, just because of the long history that this storm has had when it comes to rotation and when it comes to a confirmed tornado on the ground that made its way from the Youngstown area into Lawrence County up there on the state line. And it's held some rotational aspect all the way through Lawrence County from Youngstown. And now here we are on I-79 in Butler County with this one. And they did continue that tornado warning. And this is going to go until 8:15 for Butler County. And this is going to continue on towards the city of Butler. The city of Butler is included in this. Zoe, will you let management know that Butler is included in this warning? Connoquenessing, it is included for you, and this is going to be north of Evans City, north of Zelienople. While you might have some residual effects with some rain or some gusty winds in Zele and Evans City, the worst of this is going to be Connoquenessing to Prospect to the city of Butler, where we have this tornado warning in play until 8:15. So this is going to continue as these storms make their path along Route 422 through Prospect, through Butler. So this storm has had that long history of rotation. We're going to go back and look at the velocities on this one. Still at least a small couplet trying to show up here, which would be the indications of winds blowing away from the radar and the winds blowing towards. So we have this here, and I drew that clockwise because that was backwards. So let's do it that. That's how the winds are blowing. The radar is in Moon Township, so we have that counterclockwise rotation among the storm itself, right over 19 and I-79. We also have in this same vicinity the hook echo, which you see right here. This is the indication that you have winds getting pulled into the storm, and they'd wrap up like that. So there's the hook showing up. We have some at least broad rotation in the atmosphere associated with this. We've watched back in western parts of Lawrence County some rotation in here. And this is a thing that looks weird to you at home, and I apologize for that. There's just not a better way to display it, but it's an important tool that meteorologists use to determine if there's debris in the atmosphere. We look for the uniformity in the size or same size targets in the atmosphere that the radar's picking up on. And when you start seeing some things of different sizes near each other, you start running into that possibility of a tornado. We're not really seeing that here. This is where the hook is. This is where there's not much targets, but that lines up with where we're seeing the hook echo or the notch in the storm. So there's not as many targets to pick up on there. So certainly something we're going to watch here, as that hook is still very defined on this storm. And I don't know, did somebody say something in my ear? I didn't pick up on what. Okay, so we are going to continue with this one until at least 8:15 as these storms continue to progress through. But certainly, when you look at these storms and they're progressing through, you want to look at all the data you can possibly pick up on them. And one of those things is to see how well that hook shows up in these storms. And we're still seeing a little bit of a weak echo region showing up there. So this is definitely a storm that has some upward lift to it, where it's pushing that motion up. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is that this storm has had such a long history of popping off those storms that have that rotation. I mean, that's a pretty defined hook that we're still seeing here. So this one is still concerning to me, as it's just south of Portersville. This is going to cut right by Prospect towards Connoquenessing and on towards the city of Butler. So if you're in any of those areas, you should be getting to the lowest level of your home and waiting this storm out until it has passed. I'm going to pop up the towns in the path of this one. And this one is moving southeast at about 30 miles per hour or so. We get 26 out of this. So we'll just forward this a little bit to make up for that. This is going to be moving towards Buffalo by the time we're at 8:50, but Homemaker here in the next 15 minutes. I'm gonna move this polygon or this track up. So Butler at 8:22. So if this one continues its motion, it will include the city of Butler within this track, but we're seeing that tight rotation here. I'm gonna look up something here. Bear with me a second. I'm just looking to see. Looks like we have a tornado debris. Yep, Portersville. Okay, so what we're seeing here now, it is a confirmed tornado. I was telling you that this signature was looking. So what we have here, you would see. This is now a tornado that you should be in the lowest level of your home. This is one. Portersville to Prospect. Don't even try to get a picture of this. Get to the lowest level of your home on this one. This is a observed tornado. This ball you see here, when you start seeing the hook on the back end of that hook growing out like that, that's usually an indication that you're starting to pull up debris within this. It sort of stretches out that ball on the back side of this storm. In addition to that, the velocities have tightened up. That's the other thing that we were seeing here. So we're starting to see a tighter couplet. We've been telling you this one's had that history of rotation. And then, of course, with our debris tracker, there is your debris. So the latest scan, we were scanning it right before it started to show up. So we're starting to get some of that debris showing up on the radar as well. So certainly signs that this one is in contact with the ground. That's why the National Weather Service has upped the category of this one to an observed tornado warning. This one is in effect until 8:15. Meridian, Connoquenessing, City of Butler. Get in the lowest level of your home as this storm is moving southeast at about 30 miles per hour. This one has had a long history of debris in contact with the ground, pulling up debris into the air, carving damage. And this is going to continue on towards Connoquenessing. This is going to continue on towards Meridian and especially towards the areas of South Butler. This is going to be sort of in line with you as this has been running along, if not just barely south of Route 422. This is not a storm that you're going to want to watch come in on your front porch. One, the winds contained within this could easily get in excess of 70 miles per hour, and if it is picking up debris, that could hurt, if not kill you. You don't want to be outside while this is happening. Trees oftentimes come down in storms like this. You don't want to be on your front porch and put yourself or your family in that kind of danger. I would rather you be in the basement and safe than trying to get a picture of this. We can talk about it later on, but this is certainly not one that you want to mess around with, especially when we're dealing with an observed tornado warning for this storm in Butler County. That is going to continue until 8:15 as it moves along Route 422 from Portersville towards Prospect, and then it's going to make its continuation on towards Connoquenessing, Oak Hills, and the city of Butler. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to put some cities on this track so everyone can see the timing of how this is going to work out for you. This one's moving at about 30 miles per hour, and we'll just scooch this up a little more to make up for that. And at 30 miles per hour, this is going to be moving towards Oak Hills in the next 20 minutes. Connoquenessing, you should already be in the lowest level of your home. This one's coming through right now, although that back edge is starting to look a little ragged. That is just one radar scan. You'd want to see several to make sure that you're seeing a weakening indeed with this one. But this is going to continue that motion to the southeast, and that's the issue with this one. This has had that history, and it's been popping off these these areas of rotation and debris as it's gone through time. Let me just show you the history of this storm over time. This has had rotation since it was around Youngstown all the way. It took a diagonal path through Lawrence County, a longer path through Lawrence County, and it's still holding on to that rotation. And it's had a history of contact with the ground at points. When it comes to storm reports coming in up here, not a lot have come in. There has been that tornado report in the Youngstown area as that storm started off, but most people are out now assessing the damage, and they assess the damage and make sure everyone in their family's okay before they start reporting it. So there's going to be some time before the damage reports start coming in from this one, but this tornado warning has had that history. It has certainly shown that sign of continuing to hold on to its strength over time as it's moved its way all the way across Lawrence County out of Youngstown. And right now, here it sits, moving just south of Prospect. We'll get in a little closer so you can see how this is impacting areas like 528. So 528 runs north and south in Butler County and moves up towards Prospect. So 528 just south of Prospect is an area that we're watching. This is going to continue towards Connoquenessing and 68, and eventually on towards Homemaker as it moves southeast at about 30 miles per hour. The latest radar scan came in, and you can see that certainly stretched out that backside. I want to look at some of the latest velocities coming in. Still, we're getting that rotation trying to show up there. The latest rotation on this pegs that rotation, still holding together, and over time that has definitely been the case. This particular rotation product takes a couple scans for the radar to crunch that data. That's why we look at it in a couple different ways, but that certainly moved into the area where we're still seeing that rotation trying to hang on right here, another way we look at it. So we've been seeing definitely rotation within this one, and at times debris on the ground. That's the other product that we're going to use. I'm going to zoom out a little bit to get a better view of this as it's gone over time. But this, as it's moved across Butler County right there, that would be where it picked up its debris. And we will get in closer on that, and that's just south of Prospect. So some debris there after it crossed over 19 and 79. So, you know, a busy part of the area, especially for Butler County up north. That is where this has been occurring, and now it's moving towards Route 528, where we see this warning continue. And this is the latest radar scan here. Still have that hook on the backside of this storm. This one, the rain is moving into Connoquenessing right now. It's not going to be pretty. So just this one is going to be continuing that motion towards you. Wait this one out in the lowest level of your home, Connoquenessing. You don't want to mess with this storm. It's had a history. It's strengthened. At times it's weakened a little bit, but overall it's held together pretty well. And this one's going to clip Butler and then continue on towards Jefferson and Winfield. But this storm has certainly held together pretty well. And the problem is that while all these storms were firing to the south, all these storms were firing off down in West Virginia, and the clouds made it all the way up to Pittsburgh. Areas up north of that got into some sunshine. And that sunshine put energy into the ground and heat into the ground for these storms to work with. And as they came across Lake Erie, these storms just fed off those ingredients. And we're waiting on the cold front to come through to wring these ingredients out. And that's what you're getting here. But unfortunately, those ingredients were enough to lead to this tornado warning and a storm that's, let's be honest, had a history of tornadoes making contact. So as soon as that funnel cloud hits the ground, that's a tornado. And we've had debris getting pulled up by this storm at several different points along its path. And the latest one was just south of Prospect, just south of Route 422, as it's moved its way across Butler County. And this one still for another 5 minutes has that tornado warning associated with it. I'm going to check again with my stats here and with the Yep, just like I was telling you, they said they're seeing signs of it slowing down, or a slowdown on PA 511 near Portersville, likely where that circulation crossed. So the National Weather Service also uses the cameras like we tried to use the PennDOT cameras up that way, but unfortunately they're down. But PA 511 traffic data is saying that there is a slowdown on 79 up that way. I'm not sure if there is debris on the road or if just there's very cautious drivers or scared drivers up that way, because this is essentially where this storm passed over, and the debris signature was adjacent right next to I-79 as it was moving across there on the radar. So that would be a place for our newsroom to look for some information to see if there's an incident occurring on I-79 because of this storm, or if there's some debris on the road from this storm, as there was definitely a debris signature on the radar. Over time, this has had that strengthening and weakening. Definitely a point where you've had that strengthening was as it was crossing over I-79 right there. That's kind of trouble, and if that came with some debris that spread out this way, that would definitely make sense why there would be a slowdown on I-79. Now, this storm is still on the board. Still, it's listed as an observed tornado warning in effect for another 3 minutes, 9 seconds. Okay, the National Weather Service is telling me that they have social media video of a small tornado near Portersville. So there is another confirmed tornado added to this list of tornadoes that we've seen in the month of July. We have just been stacking them up, and this is the latest one. So they will definitely go out and probably survey this damage and the path of this storm, as it made a long path coming out of the Youngstown area. But now we sit with this tornado warning for another few minutes at least. I'm not sure if the National Weather Service is going to keep this one going or not, or if they are going to allow this one to expire. But they did pick up on a social media video of a small tornado near Portersville. Of course, that's already passed through, and now this storm is approaching Connequenessing. You should be waiting this one out in the lowest level of your home in Connequenessing. This is a storm that's definitely had tornadoes associated with it, and it wasn't long ago where it was strong enough to produce at least a small tornado and a debris signature on the radar. It has shown a little sign of weakening, but it's almost like it's breathing. It gets stronger and weaker, and it's been doing this ever since it was moving from Youngstown. We still don't have any cameras up this way, which is makes it difficult to see what's happening there. But we are getting reports of I-79 slowdowns near the Portersville exit from PA 511 and the National Weather Service. So the National Weather Service is going to expire this tornado warning. I'm assuming that they are going to pop on a severe thunderstorm warning with this one, possibly a severe thunderstorm warning with tornado possible, as this has shown some sign of weakening, but the sun is getting low. The sun's getting lower in the sky, so these storms are having a little less energy to work with. So we'll see how this works out here in the next 55 seconds, because that's when this warning is set to expire, and when the National Weather Service will add on a continuation of this, whether it be a severe thunderstorm warning, which I would assume would be the case just because of the long history of this storm and its continuation from Connequenessing up around Butler. Butler's getting hit with some pretty good rain right now, and this is going to push on towards Jefferson and Winfield as we go through the next half hour or so with the 30-mile-per-hour track on this one that's been moving out of the northwest to the southeast from Youngstown through Newcastle, through Portersville, now to Connequenessing, and eventually on towards Jefferson in Butler County, Winfield as well. This is going to be north of Adams, north of Cranberry, north of Zelienople. So that is moved on there. So we're in the last few seconds of this tornado warning that has dropped off the board. We'll see if the National Weather Service wants to add to the severe thunderstorm warning. But with that said, I am going to continue to watch this storm as it's had a history. I'm going to watch all the other storms still on the board because there's a little energy left in the atmosphere that these storms are trying to work with. So Josh, while I'm watching these storms, I'm going to send things over to you and regroup. If there's anything that I should jump on for, I will definitely jump on and let you know, okay?
All right, Ray, thank you. We'll check back in just a few minutes. Now, our top story tonight, we are tracking the first official challenge of the new policy in downtown's Market Square. A woman filed a civil complaint in court saying some city leaders put the curfew in place